Alright, our last example problem for using the quadratic formula, and it's a doozy. We're supposed to solve the equation 6x squared minus 19 equals 6x. You guys know what to do first. Let's make ourselves a copy of this to work with. Minus 19 equals 6x. In order to use the quadratic formula, my quadratic has to be set equal to 0. So that means I have to cancel out everything on one side or the other of this equation, basically move everything from one side to the other. I'm going to move this 6x over here so that I get 0 on this side. So in order to do that, I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. That's going to leave me with 6x squared minus 19 minus 6x equals 0. This should feel funny to you. Anytime you have this and it's not in standard form of a polynomial, it's better to rewrite it that way. We're just used to seeing it that way. Everything goes a little bit smoother. So I'm just going to rewrite this in standard form. So that's 6x squared minus 6x minus 19 equals 0. Now I have my quadratic set equal to 0. I'm ready to use the quadratic formula. All I need to do now is identify a, b, and c. A is the coefficient of the x squared term, so that's 6. B is the coefficient of the linear term, so that's going to be negative 6. And c will be negative 19. Now when I come over here, I want to rewrite the quadratic formula in all its glory. Every time you work one of these, I want you to go ahead and rewrite this. B squared minus 4ac over 2a, and all of this is going to be what x equals, because that's going to be our solution. Now we just need to substitute in everything we know. So b will be negative 6. So notice I'm replacing the b with the parentheses and then putting my value for b inside. Plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared minus 4 times 6 times negative 19. All of that over 2 times a, and a is 6. Just like that. Now notice this is going to use a lot of room. That is okay. Use as much space as you need for this. I know you're concerned about the trees, but think about this. The more paper the world needs, the more trees they're going to plant. So go ahead and use a lot of paper on this. The trees will thank you, believe it or not. So x equals negative 6. So the opposite of negative 6 will be positive 6. Plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared is going to be 36 minus 4 times 6 times negative 19. Well, this is a task for Professor Calculator. So we do we do 4 times 6 times negative 19. That's going to be negative 456. So we're subtracting negative 456. All of that divided by 2 times 6, which is 12. All right, next step, we're going to move down here. And I've got x plus or minus the square root of, well, let's find out what is 36 minus a negative 456. Turns out that's going to be 492. All of this over 12. So I continue on my march of simplification here, and now we can say that x is going to be equal to 6 plus or minus, and now I can just go ahead and evaluate that square root. So remember, I use the second x squared. That gives me my radical symbol, and then I'm going to say the square root of 492 is equal to 22 point, and then it looks like your calculator threw up. What I want you to do for our purposes here is just round this off at the thousandth place. So that means 3 places past the decimal point. We have a 0 there, so that's going to say that. So we'll say plus or minus 22.181 over 12. And now it might be a good idea here to evaluate these two situations separately. So I'm going to take the addition situation first. So I say x equals 6 plus 22.181 divided by 12. And this is, of course, a job for a calculator. So we say, might as well bring this in where everybody can see it. So we say 6 plus 22.181, all of that divided by 12, and that gives me and again, it looks like the calculator threw up. Just take your digits out to the thousandths place, will be fine for now. We'll learn how to deal with these more exactly later. So this would be 2.348. So x could be 2.348. The other option is that x equals 6 minus 22.181 over 12. And so we need to figure up that one as well. To show you a secret here, if you hit second enter on your calculator, it'll bring up what you previously did. I can change that addition sign to a subtraction sign, and I find that that would be negative 1.348. 1.348. So now I've found both solutions, and my last step here is just going to be to tie those together, and I'm going to say that x equals 2.348 or negative 1.348, and it really doesn't matter which one we write first, so long as we indicate that x is one of those two, and those right there are our solutions. We will have two of them because the discriminant on this came out to be positive, and so those are our two solutions, and we are all finished.